Welcome to Off-Syllabus with Manny, where we talk about the hardest parts of teaching, the ones that do not make it to the syllabus. Today, we are talking about how biases might permeate into our conversations and work, and how we can navigate conflict in a way that feels collaborative and compassionate. Joining me today is Datia Flowers. She is an assistant director of Biases Responses Initiative. So, with that in mind, let's dive in. Datia, thank you for joining me today. I would like to start with just asking you a short summary about like what brought you to Illinois and your role here.
Sure, thank you. So back in 2014, I was looking for a job and an opportunity opened up. I am from Chicago, so lived there, moved here to Champaign with my then 3-year-old son, and with the gumption to start a new job and go back to school. Started in the at that time office of well, it was ODEA for short, um, as the office support person, and I have since gotten my undergrad degree from EIU. I received my master's in social work from UIUC. And so from there, I've been able to move up through the office. So I've been with the Office of the Vice Chancellor for Access, Civil Rights, and Community, still getting used to our new name, for almost 12 years, and I've been with Campus Belonging for 2 years now. I will say my own personal life experiences of going off to college originally and then dropping out, being a first generational student and just not knowing what resources to lean in on, how to ask for help, where to go, how to even navigate the syllabus and the unspoken language and culture really pushes my willpower. It thrives. It makes me thrive in this environment, and it really is my reason for wanting to be in campus belonging.
So, how is your background or your story, your experiences, have motivated you to engage in the bias response initiatives at your office?
Great question. I just really feel like I am that resource that I did not feel like I had when I was in college, oh, so many years ago. um, Campus belonging really serves as like a starting point. We can't fix everything. We don't have the answers to everything, but one thing that I really try to do is stay abreast of the resources that are on campus. I cultivate relationships with campus partners so that way when folks do come to me and they do have a need that I cannot serve, I make sure it's like a light bulb goes off in my brain, and I'm just like, you know what? I can't help you, but I know who can. And so I love to do a soft handoff. I love to be just this, maybe it's the social worker in me, but I love to be resourceful and be able to help solve a problem. And so really that is what resonates for me because again as a first generation student I just didn't know where to start, and I feel like campus belonging is that place that you can start, and we're gonna make sure you get to where you need to be to get the resources and the help you need to succeed.
So, something that we're talking about a little is about bias response. So, in general, if you had to define this, so I am a chemist. So, if you had to define bias response to a chemist, how would you describe that?
Bias is our internal thoughts, our internal perceptions, whether we know they exist or not. We all have them. And they are mainly made up of our lived experiences. They are made up of the media that we have taken in as children, even as adults, what we see on the news, what we see in the newspapers, how people are portrayed in the movies or in music. It really is what we've been taught about people that either look like us or don't, right? And a lot of times we don't have that one-on-one experience or connections with people. And so it's really the need to fill in the gap. I always say that we as humans, we like to have a full picture. We like to know the full story. And where there are gaps, we will fill them in, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And typically, we are filling in those gaps with our own perceptions, our own lived experiences, whatever knowledge we have, which most times are biased, and we try to fill in those stories about people. And that's how you get um, bias coming into play.
Oh no, this is very interesting because I'm thinking about from a science perspective. Like we do get some facts, and between the facts, there's some gaps, and we are gonna make assumptions to fill in those gaps, and those gaps are gonna be influenced or informed by the experiences about the things we know. That whether we want to be biased or no bias, they will have some bias because they will reflect upon the background, your experiences. So this is a very good way to like bridge different disciplines by that definition. So I really enjoy that. Um, so something that I hear sometimes is the word like working around biases can get messy. So it's a process that is not easy. So in your experience, how do you navigate these conversations around biases that might become messy?
Would be remiss if I were to say, "Oh, no, it's not messy," because it is. It can be, but I think part of it is reframing our mindset and what we think or how we think about conflict. Conflict is not a bad thing. You know, we shy away from it. We don't want to deal with it. But truth is, conflict can really bring about change. It actually presents opportunity. Conflict, it says, something's wrong here. Or there are things that we care about here, or there are things that we need to address here. Because here's the thing, if I don't care about it, I'm not going to bring it up to you. If I don't care about it, I'm not going to debate you on it. But because I care, now we're in this conflict. So therefore, because I care about it, now we need to address it. Conflict allows for difficult conversations. Conflict allows for change if we're open to it. It also gives us data. We can collect, at least from a campus belonging standpoint, I can collect where this conflict is happening and really point out things and, time of year that these things are happening, what type of conflict is happening. And it really gives me a view of, maybe we need to step in and do this. Maybe I can offer this type of training, or maybe I can tweak what I'm doing to fit better over here because this is what is happening over here on this side of campus. So I really see it as an opportunity, more so than messy. And I would even say that's why campus belonging, a part of why campus belonging exists, is so that if it does feel too messy for a faculty member or staff member, you can kind of say, you know what, hands off, I'm going to give you over to campus belonging, where we have a structure, where we are trained in difficult conversations, trained in mediation. I am trained through Northwestern as a mediator. My team is trained in restorative justice conferences, circles, those type of practices. And so we have the experience and the knowledge on how to deal with the messy and make it not feel so messy. It's very confidential. None of our processes are made public, so people can feel comfortable to come talk to us, knowing that no one outside the process will be privy to this information. I think all of those things matter when we're trying to make it as less messy as possible.
So could you describe for somebody who's interested or potentially like thinking about submitting some sort of like request, how the process would look like? So they will submit something online potentially, and how would that look for the people requesting, but also for the person that might be involved, like the request is focused on?
Absolutely. So you can submit a report for yourself, or you can submit a report on behalf of someone else. I'm thinking about faculty in particular, in that you may experience harm and want to file a report for yourself, or you may be aware of a student that um, have experienced a bias incident and you want to file a report on their behalf. You can do either. The report is online. You're absolutely correct. So access.illinois campus belonging.
Good, we'll add a
Uh,
link.
yeah, yes. And there you'll see the report here. You submit the report. We're asking, well, one, you can submit that anonymously if you would like. The more information, the more we're able to help, but we do respect that if you want to submit anonymously, that is totally fine. We're asking for information around your name, the incident, what happened, where it happened, what target identity do you feel like it was against for you? Um, what do you want from this process? So you have the right to say, hey, I am just submitting this for your knowledge. And from that point, we won't do anything, or we will assess it to see if there's something that we need to do. There's an option to say, I want to be contacted and I want you to contact the person that caused the harm. In that case, we would reach out to the person submitting the report. They would schedule a meeting with me. In that meeting, I would explain what the process looks like. I would explain that this is not an investigation. I don't investigate. I am not a lawyer or anything like that. However, I am trained in mediation and I go down the list of the services that we offer. And then I ask them about the situation. Now, sometimes it is too hard to recant the situation. And so I respect that and I allow them to share with me what they feel comfortable. And from there, they are allowed to say, I still want to proceed, or I think I'm okay here. And in that meeting, I am assessing for what other resources beyond campus belonging would they need. And I am certainly at the end of that meeting following up with an email to say, here are some resources that I believe that you would benefit from. If you need some assistance with reaching out, let me know and we'll do that. If they want to be done with the process at that point, we close it because again, we are impacted party driven. However, if they would like for us to continue and want us to reach out to the respondent, we do that. That outreach looks like, hey, such and such has submitted a report. This is their concern. Would you be willing to speak with me? You are not in any trouble. We just want to make you aware and we want to have a conversation. In that conversation, I go over the same. This is what the process looks like. I am not an attorney. This is not an investigation. You are not in any trouble. This is the incident that happened. This is the impact it has had. Would you like to provide your side of the story of what happened? A lot of times people do want to say, hey, I did do that, but that wasn't my intention. Or I did that and that was my intention. And so then we talk about that. We talk about how that bias affects that person, potentially the culture or the system at large. And depending on what the impacted party wanted, if they wanted a mediation, then I offer that as well to the respondent. They have the right to say yes or no. All of our services are voluntary. And so if they say yes, then we work to get that set up. If the respondent says, no, I'm not interested at this time, that's okay too. I would just go back to the impacted party and let them know that they're not interested, but we have had this conversation. I've made them aware. Um, Sometimes the respondent will say, I'm not interested in a mediation, but I am apologetic. Please let them know I'm apologetic. Or, I'm willing to show that I'm apologetic in some kind of way. So we kind of work it out that way. But that is the gist of what the process looks like. In the beginning, I said that you could submit an anonymous report. You can. And in that anonymous report, you can still give us the respondent's information. And so we may still reach out to the respondent in the same manner that I just explained, even if you don't give your information. Because again, we want the person that has caused the harm to understand the impact of their actions.
One thing that is important, I think, about this very often is like often when difficult conversations or where conflict happens is the result of things that are being building up. So as a supervisor, often like I would like to know like are there ways I can be more proactive about like either informing people about what resources are on campus or maybe just providing a platform or some sort of support to like get this information out there so people know. So how can your team support a more proactive approach when people might be concerned, like maybe something's not going well in my department or division, and I want somebody to come in and so help mediate before conflict actually happens.
Absolutely. You've said a couple of things that I want to respond to. One of those things being, if I'm thinking about faculty, setting the tone first day of class, first day of the semester, having your community agreement. A lot of people are like, what is that, Datia? And I said, really, it's the rules. It's the rules, but you're inviting your students to participate in what those rules look like for the class so that everyone feels comfortable. They feel like you actually care about what they need to be secure and safe in the classroom, and that really seems to work. So I start with community agreements. In a department aspect, I think it is important that the leaders in the department set the tone for what is okay and what is not okay. For instance, having grace for one another, having the space to come to someone to say, hey, what you said bothered me. I would love to have a conversation about it if you're open to that. Um, as far as campus belonging being able to come in, especially over the summer, we do this a lot, but all year round, a lot of departments have office retreats. And we will come in for a segment of that office retreat and we will have a training. We will talk about bias or we will talk about difficult conversations, whatever it is that you're seeing that your department needs, and we will give tools. We like to give a tool belt. We love to leave tools for your tool belt. And so we're happy to come in to staff meetings, staff retreats. Um, Even if you schedule a special meeting for us to come in, we're happy to come in and give those type of trainings before things even happen, right? I think that is the key, is to be proactive as opposed to being reactive. And we find that a lot, that campus belonging feels very reactive, but that's why we like that training piece, because it does give us the opportunity to get before things before they happen.
So something you mentioned at the beginning of this podcast episode was like you have been in your office for about 12 years. I'm actually very curious about like from where you start to now. I'm actually even looking forward. What are the places or the skills or the experiences that you think your unit or your team is striving to provide to campus so we can build a more collaborative, focus on belonging like culture like across campus?
Great question. So, Campus Belonging started out as a committee, and it was formed with various people from across campus that would look at bias response incidents periodically. Eventually, once we built out the Office of the Vice Chancellor, then it was DEI, there there was a recognized need for more emphasis on campus belonging and it not just being the responsibility of a committee, but an actual unit within the office. And so for maybe the last 4 years, campus belonging has been around. I have been on the scene with campus belonging for the last 2 years. In just 2 years, we have gone through a lot of changes, including the inception of the Title VI office. Right prior to the Title VI office, campus belonging was taking all of those cases. And so we have had many iterations of what campus belonging looks like and what it feels like and what we do. We are now getting to a more settled place where Title VI is up and running and doing well. And so it has allowed campus belonging to really shift in thinking about what we are doing, what services we offer, which is why lately we have leaned heavily into the mediation space. We do feel like there is a great need for that. Additionally, as I go out and I table at different events, the number one thing I hear from students is, how can I get involved with that? And I am always like, I want to have an answer for that. And so, just a couple of months ago, we jumped into a strategic planning process for campus belonging so that we can really build out how people can get involved with campus belonging, even when they're not experiencing harm, but they are wanting to make our campus a better place. We have thrown around ideas of maybe having an ambassador or having different town hall meetings or possible conversation pieces, lunch and learns where people can come over their lunch hour and join us for a training or educational timing for about an hour together. I have some ideas around some cultural events or even bringing in a really big speaker, someone national, bringing them here to Urbana to talk to our campus. And so these are things that we are really thinking about and talking about. And I'm looking forward to that because we do want folks to see campus belonging as partners, as a place where you can come, not just when it's negative, but also when you're experiencing something good and to help cultivate a positive campus.
This is fantastic. So we want to make sure that people feel like heard and it doesn't have to wait till like conflicts happening. Like we
Mhm.
can build this positive community and collaboration just being very proactive. And I'm really like how you are reframing the work around biases to just focusing on belonging and how important it is to be heard and to hear other people across the situation. So just to close up this, I wanted to ask you to share just your biased opinion on if like talking to like we are talking to faculty right now. Why do you think faculty should be more intentional about engaging with your team? And that would be in addition to actually spend time talking to Datia, which is great and funny and very, very, very warm. So I do enjoy. I think that's a very great reason. But what are the other reasons to engage with your team?
Thank you so much for that, Manny. I would really say that it's important to engage with us because classroom climate directly impact your student success. When students feel unseen, when they feel unsafe, unheard, then the learning process shuts down. And campus belonging is here to help you navigate these hard moments. We have the skills, we're here to help protect your professional integrity. We are here to help build classrooms where rigor and belonging can coexist. And so, while that may feel like extra work, it's not. It's really foundational excellence. Statistics prove that students get better grades, they complete their 4-year tenure when they feel like they belong, when they feel heard, when they feel seen. And campus belonging is a partner that is here to help you as you try to help your students.
Yeah, honestly, I might this might sound like I don't know weird, but like I try to make sure my students in my class feel welcome and safe and engaged. Partially because I wanted them to feel welcome and safe and engaged, but also because it will make my life a lot easier as a faculty. I can navigate the classroom a lot better if they trust me. So it's a win-win situation where they feel welcome, they feel comfortable. We can get less emails, less complaints, and we can actually both succeed. Both parties can succeed. So thank you for your work and thank you for joining me today and sharing all that knowledge. And I am excited to expand the reach of your office because I think belonging is very important, especially in this current climate where many groups feel isolated, they feel segregated, there's a lack of connection. And if we can build something in our classrooms where people feel safe and connected, that would really help them succeed. That's the ideal learning space that we want to create across campus. So thank you. And as every episode, I just want to say like these topics are very important because a lot of learning happens outside the syllabus. So thank you for listening.
Thank you for having me.